going through your head right now?
Why do we have to care anymore? Why are we even here? To be honest, why are we here? What are we here for? Because if we take up for ourselves, we go to jail. If we don't, we die. So it's a catch-22 in this situation. What do you want us to do? What do you want us to do at this point? What? I'm lost for it. I don't know what to do. I got 5 boys. I don't know what. I ain't got nothing to tell them no more.
Carmelo Anthony, whether you agree it was self-defense or not is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is you are supposed to be tried in front of a jury of your peers. He was not. There were no black people on the jury. It was mostly white people, an Asian person, and a Hispanic person. That is not a jury of your peers. And of course they're going to find him guilty. Whenever you look like this, and the person that you supposedly harmed looks like this, they're going to find you guilty. Free Carmelo Anthony.
What was it like?
When the verdict was read.
I feel like it was designed to protect white people, the system, and it was not designed to protect black people. It's self-defense.
For I got kids. I got black kids. 35 for defending myself. It's not right. We all know why it's not right. It's just not right. I'm hurt.
From everything that has been put out in regards to this case, I feel like more so with the jury that he had amongst what is supposed to be his peers, they weren't going to look at actual facts of the situation. They were going off of emotions and color. And unfortunately with that, he wasn't going to get a fair fight.
Hi people, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Falika. So today's video is about a recent Carmelo Anthony verdict, which has sparked a lot of conversations online. Carmelo was sentenced to 35 years in prison, and many people are now debating whether the outcome was fair and whether similar cases have been treated differently by the justice system. Some people believe the verdict reflects accountability for a tragic situation that resulted in a loss of a young life. Others argue that there are aspects of the case that deserved closer examination, including questions about self-defense claims, jury selection, and whether all the circumstances surrounding the incidents were fully considered. One reason this case has generated so much discussion is because people have been comparing it to other high-profile cases where self-defense arguments were accepted. These comparisons have led to broader conversations about consistency within the justice system and whether factors such as race influence public perception and legal outcomes. At the same time, it's important to remember that two families have experienced unimaginable loss. One family is grieving the loss of a child, while another is facing the reality of a young person spending decades behind bars. These situations are painful and emotional for everyone involved. As observers, we can acknowledge those emotions while also asking questions about how justice is applied. People can support accountability and still discuss whether legal processes are fair and equitable. Those conversations are part of how societies examine and improve their institutions. So this case has clearly touched a nerve across America, and many are expressing frustrations, sadness, anger, and confusion. Regardless of where you stand on the verdict, it highlights how deeply people care about fairness, equal treatment under the law, and the future of young people caught in tragic circumstances. I would like to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you believe the verdict was justified based on the evidence presented, or do you think there are important questions that still need answers? Please remember to keep the discussion respectful in the comment section down below, and credits belong to the original owners of these videos. And thank you to all those people that have been sending super thanks. I appreciate that. It keeps the channel going. So let us watch the rest of the clips are prepared for you today. Then we'll meet in the comment section down below as always.
Carmelo Anthony found guilty of murder a week after Cyrus Belton's murderer was found not guilty. If you don't think that this country is sending a clear message to black people, then you're fucking stupid and you're denying fucking reality. Carmelo Anthony defended himself, no matter how you want to try to flip it. Well, he defended himself against those two white boys and ended up killing one of them in the process. Now, Cyrus Belton's murderer chased him for 130 fucking yards, shot him in the back and murdered him, but he was found not fucking guilty. Mind you, Cyrus's case took place in South Carolina. Carmelo's case took place in Texas. Two of the most racist fucking states in this country. And you're gonna try to sit here and convince me that this country is not sending a clear message to black people that you can't defend yourself or you're going to be found fucking guilty. You can't live, or if you get murdered, that person will not be found fucking guilty. You're seriously gonna try to sit here and convince black people that this country is not reaffirming the shit that we have known our entire fucking lives for generations, that it's just us, that nobody gives a fuck about us, that we can't live, breathe, do fucking anything without being criminalized in this fucking country? This shit is insane. Carmelo Anthony found guilty a week after Cyrus's murderer was found not guilty. The hypocrisy is fucking insane.
You telling me a grainy video is shown to jurors, but it was shown in 4K clear to the people that witnessed it? No witness on that stand had that little man's back? None? 0 out of 21 people being questioned? Come on, man, I'm done with all of that. I feel the same way about white people, the same way they feel about my people. Yeah, try one of us.
I mean, even just following the case, I know I just, we've all been kind of keeping up with it. And just to see even that the judge, the defense attorney, and Austin Metcalf's father was in, a picture at a party they having the time. There is an alleged post from Austin, from, of course, before he passed, that, he had 2 assault rifles on his resting on himself in the car, saying that I dare one of the monkeys to come to this track meet today. But this is someone where, Carmelo Anthony was a 3.7 GPA student working 2 jobs. But he's the one that we're supposed to believe is a thug, though.
Right. Of course. Because that's how they see us. They want everything is good because it's white. And then when it comes to black, it's angry, it's violent.
It's exhausting being black in America. It means fighting constantly to be seen as a full human, worthy of empathy, worthy of protection, worthy of the rights this country claims to guarantee everyone. And then being told in the same breath that race had nothing to do with it, that you're imagining it, that the system is neutral, that if you just complied, just waited, just trusted the process, justice would come, but it never does. The most infuriating and insulting part is the constant gaslighting from the top down that our reality and lived experience aren't true. But they have to continuously do this because the people who can be convinced their oppression isn't real are easier to manage than the people who know exactly what's being done to them. The judicial system isn't broken. It operates exactly how it was designed to. From slave codes to Jim Crow justice, the inequalities we experience are part of the modus operandi of America. There is a dangerous lens embedded in the American legal system that strips black children of their childhood long before they ever step into the courtroom. It's called adultification, the automatic tendency to view black teenagers as older, larger, more aggressive, and more inherently guilty than their white peers. When 19-year-old Carmelo Anthony was sentenced to 35 years in prison, the courts refused to see a boy who was a part of a tragic high school altercation. It was the culmination of a system that looked at a 17-year-old minor and refused to see a child. And that was intentional because everything in this country, like I always say, comes down to race. Texas prosecutors used direct file laws to bypass the juvenile system entirely, forcing Anthony to stay on trial as a full adult for the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf. The trial moved faster than any murder trial I've ever seen in my life, but it wasn't shocking when an all-white jury took less than 3 hours to reject his self-defense claim, convict him of first-degree murder, and sentence him in a single afternoon. That swiftness signaled a system that had already made up its mind. Even though Anthony was 130 pounds and the Metcalf twins each weighed over 200, he was seated and cornered when the confrontation escalated, and there was obviously some racially driven bullying involved. Courts refused to allow those factors into their deliberation because adultification bias made that reality invisible. The jury didn't see a smaller, panicked teenager acting out of fear. They saw what the prosecution told them to see: an angry, black, calculated aggressor who deserved no mercy. And that's what's expected of a group of white people who've never had to have their own history of violence towards black people, bias, and racially driven bullying in their minds. They say this was a murder, not manslaughter. And the difference is manslaughter means you acted reckless in the heat of the moment. That may have unfortunately ended someone's life. Murder means that was your goal, your intent. This is the double standard baked into American law. Stand your ground protections cover a lot of ground in this country, but when a black teenager outnumbered, outweighed, and overwhelmed claims he feared his life, that fear gets criminalized. The system that rubber stamps non-black fear as reasonable cannot extend the same logic to a black child who was physically outmatched. Now, let's compare that to how this system treats white boys who actually are adults. Brock Turner was 20 years old when he was convicted of sexually assaulting an unconscious woman behind a dumpster at Stanford. The judge handed him 6 months in county jail, not prison, and said he was worried that a harsher sentence would have severe impact on Turner's future. He served 3 months. Judges have looked out for white men convicted of rape and told them on record that they have too much life ahead to have it derailed by consequences. That logic that some men deserve protection from the weight of their own actions is applied with stunning consistency, just never to black children who claim they were afraid for their lives. Then there was a jury. During selection, prosecutors struck the final 3 black candidates from the pool. What remained was an all-white panel with no shared cultural context, no lived experience that might challenge implicit bias in that room. 3 hours of deliberation is not a deep, painful reckoning with a messy teenage tragedy. It's a room that functioned exactly how it was built to function, and that room has a long memory.
Carmelo Anthony's parents just left the courtroom in tears. Not good for the home team. This is what's interesting under Texas state law. In the civil case, he was 17 when he did it. The parents, out of neglect, are going to be liable. So the parents of Austin Metcalf can get all that money. All that money. Take out that house. They're going to get it all. Yes, thank you, Jesus. Justice.
Number one, I find it funny that these folks become fluent in the law whenever it's involving us, but when it's Orange Man, they act like they goddamn illiterate. Number two, look at this smile right here. It illustrates the consumption of black suffering. It's their entertainment right now. Ha ha, monkeys chipping out, y'all mad. Number three, for all y'all confused, in this visual, only one of these people was found guilty. Can y'all guess which one it was? Number four, how did all the eligible jurors that look like us get dismissed in this trial? Number five, they say they want to conserve the Constitution. At the same time, they are celebrating that this man did not get judged by his peers. It was all white people. Number six, the same folks that believe Kyle Rittenhouse was justified with having a third at a goddamn rally believe that Carmelo Anthony should have never had a knife on him at a goddamn track meet. This is the most inconsistent logic I've ever seen. Number seven, think about it. While the parents still trying to process this conviction, they already celebrating how they can take something else from this family.
Latasha Harlins was 15 years old when a Korean shop owner shot her in the back of the head over a bottle of orange juice. She was holding the money in her hand to pay for it. The killer was convicted of voluntary manslaughter and sentenced to nothing. No jail time, probation, a fine, and community service for the life of a black child. That verdict came just 13 days after the Rodney King beating. In the same city, in the same year, George Zimmerman stalked and shot a 17-year-old Trayvon Martin, an unarmed black teenager walking home with candy and iced tea, and walked out of court a free man. The jury accepted that Zimmerman, the adult who initiated the pursuit, had the right to claim self-defense against a child he chose to follow. Jordan Davis was 17, sitting in his car playing music when Michael Dunn opened, fired, and killed him over a noise complaint. Dunn claimed he saw a shotgun that was never found. It took 2 trials to convict him, and the first jury deadlocked on the murder charge entirely. Ralph Yarl was 16 when he rang the wrong doorbell in Kansas City. The homeowner shot him twice, once through the door and again on the ground. The shooter was initially sent home without charges. It took public outcry to force an arrest, and he was ultimately sentenced to just 3 years with the possibility of avoiding prison entirely. Ahmaud Arbery was jogging through a neighborhood in broad daylight when 3 white men hunted him down with trucks and a shotgun. His killers filmed it. They still went months without arrest, and then it took national outcry and a leaked video to force the system to act. Jordan Neely was a homeless man experiencing a mental health crisis on the New York City subway when a Marine veteran put him in a chokehold and held it until he died. There were witnesses, there was video. The killer walked. Botham Jean was eating ice cream in his own apartment when an off-duty officer entered the wrong unit and shot him dead. She was convicted, but the judge allowed her to be hugged by the victim's brother at sentencing, and she was out in less than 2 years. In each of these cases, black life had to be argued for. justified, proven worthy of consequence. The bar for accountability is not applied equally and never has been. Austin Metcalf's family carries a loss that could not be filled. The grief is real. But so is this, a system that presents itself as fair while denying equal access to justice. Carmelo Anthony's sentence is a reminder that black youth are still held to a standard of impossible perfection while everyone else receives the full benefit of doubt. Because I can guarantee you this, if that case was the other way around, this would have never made national news, and the Metcalf brothers would be tried as teens, receive a sealed record, which would have been expunged in 10 years, and go on to live life and probably become police officers that would go on to overly police black bodies. Stay black. Stay blessed.
Not everything is about race. People are saying that about the Carmelo Anthony case, but here are some law things you need to know about that case. This is not a video about the verdict. This is a video about the fact that the prosecutors struck 100% of the black jurors from sitting on the jury. Specifically, once the juries were narrowed down to the strike zone, the prosecutor used his strikes to get rid of every single black person from the potential jury. Under the Batson doctrine, so long as the prosecutor can come up with any cockamamie story that doesn't include the words, well, I did it because they were black, judge, the judge is going to approve it. The prosecutor claimed that the black jurors were all educators and he was worried that they would be biased in favor of a defendant who was a student, but here's the tell. The prosecutor didn't strike the white educator from the jury pool. We're saying, well, even if a black person had been on the jury, the verdict would still come out the same way because it was the right verdict. You're forgetting that we're in Texas, and under Texas law, the jury was not just responsible for rendering a verdict, the jury was also responsible for coming up with a sentence. If it's true that a jury with even one black person would have come out with the same verdict, it's very possible that they would have come out with a sentence that's not the same as 35 years. Here's the other law thing you should know. It doesn't matter whether or not the verdict would have stayed the same. It doesn't need to be a demonstration that it was a harmful error. It is automatically reversible once proven. Here's the problem. It's almost never proven. So laughably easy to beat a Batson challenge that there's actually a 10-part script that was published in a continuing legal education course. It's true, even though the data has repeatedly shown that black jurors are 2 times, 3 times as likely as their non-black counterparts to being struck. It's true even though studies have shown that an all-white jury pool is 16% more likely to result in a guilty verdict against a black defendant than a jury pool that includes just one black person. Like I said, all it takes is the prosecutor saying, no, it has nothing to do with race, and it's all good. This reminds me so much of the SCOTUS ruling that we just had on the Voting Rights Act. The minute they got their SCOTUS decision, they are scrambling to redistrict their voting maps in order to dilute black American vote. According to SCOTUS, all they have to do is say, no, it has nothing to do with race, and they can get away with it. And let's talk about the Chow case. I already talked about the prosecutorial missteps that I believe contributed to the verdict, but let's put that to one side. Defendant and their son testify that the 14-year-old child, Cyrus, was brandishing a weapon at the 20-year-old son, and therefore the defendant had no choice but to shoot him in self-defense. Only 2 people who testified to that were the 2 people who had the most to gain, the defendant and his son. Eyewitness testimony by people who had absolutely nothing to gain, saying that they saw no weapon in the child's hands. Physical evidence that this gun was dropped while the child was being chased by an armed man, by the way. There was the pathologist testimony saying that the child was shot in the back, contrary to an assertion of self-defense. The defendant was absolved of any crime. Ask yourself, if the defendant had been black, would they have been given that much credit, notwithstanding all of the evidence that I just laid out for you? To everyone who's asking black people, why does it always have to be about race? You're asking the wrong person. Ask the prosecutor who struck 100% of the black people from being on that jury. Ask the lawmakers who are redistricting black franchisement out of existence. And of course, ask the man who falsely accused a black child of stealing and then decided to chase him out of the store with a gun and shoot him in the back. Why does everything have to be about race?
They gave that baby 35 years in prison. They sentenced Carmelo Anthony to 35 years in prison. A child. While Rick Chow murdered Cyrus Carmack Belton, chased this child with his son, and after shooting him, even moved his body and got to go home. And I just want to know, for all of the black folks that are seeing these things and their commentary online is, oh, they're just trying to rage bait us. Do y'all think this shit is a game? Do you all genuinely believe that if you just passively exist in this world, that is going to keep you safe somehow? I genuinely want to know where all the "we not our ancestors, we'll whoop y'all ass" folks is at. Where are all the stay ready so we don't have to get ready folk? The fuck around and find out folk? Because for the past 2 years, I've continuously heard about people talk about Project 2025 as though Project 2025 is some new concept. Like it hasn't been something that has been strategically planned since the 60s. Like mass incarceration wasn't instituted after Joe Biden's crime bill that he wrote for Bill Clinton. Like the majority of the folks that are in these for-profit institutions are not black. As though the 13th Amendment doesn't explicitly state that slavery still exists, stating, quote, except as punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. What more do you need? What more will it take?
It's crazy how, I don't know.
Story time. So I had watched the Carmelo Anthony verdict, and all I could think while looking at that is that could have been me. So I had went through a similar situation when I was a kid. I grew up in a town called Coleman, Alabama. It's an extremely racist town, and I had lived there for 10 years, and I was experiencing nonstop racism. I was getting called the N-word all the time. Teachers were messing with me. I was always getting in trouble. It's like they were always out to get me, and I never understood why until I got older. And I hated my life there. I didn't want to go to school. I just hated everything about it. I started acting out. But there was this one white boy in particular who was the worst of them all. He lived right down the road from my house. And he would show up to my house at random times, trying to fight me, do all this stuff. While my family's there, my mom, mind you, my mom, she was a single mom, so it was just me, my little brothers, and my mom. And him and his friends would always show up and try and do stuff and all this stuff. Mind you, I was a skinny ass kid at the time. I was scared. I was scared.
This is the best advice that I'm gonna give to my people. Look, the main thing that we all should be doing right now is being fucking successful. That shit is the cure to everything. That's what they hate. They don't want to see you successful. They don't want to see you with the big ass house next to them. They don't want to see you in that position. So the best thing to do is be successful. Pass those classes. Be the smartest. Do the math. Be the best reader. Do whatever sport you do. Be the best chess player. Be the best at what you're doing. Finish. Don't quit. That's the best advice I can give you right now. Have all your paperwork straight. Be on point. They don't like that shit. They don't expect that shit from us. They hate that. The more on point you are, the fucking better. Cops pull you over, ID, registration. Be on point, right? Be better than what motherfuckers expect. Be the example. I'm telling you, that shit feels so good being on point, having good fucking credit card here, boom. I'm telling you, go get the shit that they wish they can get. You understand what I'm saying?